I know exactly how today is going to go, because I've learned the pattern over 3 years. It's Saturday morning, which means Derek will be in a bad mood because his routine was disrupted. He slept past 7 a.m. instead of waking at 6:30. His entire morning rhythm is thrown off. His sense of control is compromised. By the time he's had coffee, he'll have found something to punish me for. It's the weekend, which means he's home all day instead of at his marketing job in downtown Miami. 8 hours at the office is 8 hours where he can't monitor what I'm doing, and that absence of control makes him anxious. He fills that anxiety by being hypervigilant when he's home. Everything I do is subject to scrutiny. It's a Saturday we're supposed to spend together doing something he's decided we should do. Last week it was a restaurant he wanted to try. The food was overpriced and not good enough, somehow my fault. The week before it was a walk on the beach, too crowded, too hot, somehow my fault. Today it's the grocery store. Today he needs things for the office, and I'm supposed to be grateful for the opportunity to help him. My name is Emma Chen, and I'm 28 years old. I've been dating Derek Morrison for 3 years and 2 months. I count the months now because somewhere around the 18-month mark, I started wondering if I was ever going to leave him. Now I count to measure how much of my youth I'm wasting. I'm in the kitchen right now, making breakfast. Derek likes his eggs a specific way, over easy, but the whites have to be completely cooked. He's explained this to me approximately 200 times. Each explanation is delivered like I've never heard it before, like the concept of egg cooking is too complex for my brain to retain. I've made these eggs every Saturday for 3 years. I have made them correctly approximately 287 times. I have made them wrong, according to Derek's ever-shifting standards, approximately 43 times. Each time I make them wrong, it becomes evidence of my fundamental incompetence. This morning, I'm concentrating on the heat level. I'm concentrating on the timing. I'm concentrating on the exact moment to pull the pan off the stove, that infinitesimal moment where the white is fully set, but the yolk is still runny. I've done this so many times that I could do it in my sleep, but I'm still nervous. Because Derek's standards shift. What was perfect last week is wrong this week. There's no consistency, no way to actually win. I can hear Derek in the living room, scrolling through his phone, occasionally making disapproving sounds at whatever he's reading. He makes these sounds so I'll know he's miserable, so I'll know I should feel responsible for his misery, so I'll know that if I just try harder, I can fix it. Emma, he calls out. It's the tone he uses when he's about to criticize something. I know this tone the way other people know the sound of their own name. It's the tone of a prosecutor about to present evidence of my incompetence. Are you fucking up my eggs? I'm making them now, I call back, keeping my voice level. Cheerful, but not too cheerful. Cheerfulness without justification seems manic to him. Confident, but not defiant confidence in my own abilities is disrespectful to him. He appears in the kitchen doorway, and I can see by his expression that he's already decided I'm fucking them up. His mouth is set in a particular way, the corners turned down very slightly, the jaw clenched. That means he's bored and looking for entertainment. I'm the entertainment. I'm the problem he gets to solve by pointing out my failures. Is that the right heat? He asks, not looking at the pan, looking at me. His eyes are doing that thing they do when he's about to hurt me with words. They're looking at me the way someone looks at an object they own but are disappointed by. Because it sounds too hot. It's medium, I say. I can feel my shoulders tensing. I'm preparing my body for what's about to happen, the same way an animal prepares for pain. You like them over easy with. I know what I like, he interrupts. His voice is sharp, cutting me off before I can finish the sentence. I don't need you to explain what I like to me. I'm asking if you're making them correctly. Which, based on what I'm seeing, you're obviously not. The eggs are perfect. I know they're perfect. I've made these eggs 330 times, and I know the exact look, the exact sound, the exact smell of a perfectly cooked over-easy egg. But I'm also looking at them through Derek's eyes now, which means they might as well be scrambled. They might as well be fried solid. Whatever I've made is wrong because I made it. This is what 3 years does to you. This is what happens when someone tells you that you're wrong about simple things often enough. You start to doubt your own senses. You start to believe that maybe you actually can't cook eggs correctly. You start to believe that maybe you can't do anything correctly. They look good to me, Derek says, leaning against the counter. He's wearing expensive athletic clothes that he bought to wear to the gym, which he doesn't go to. He looks at me the way someone looks at something they own and are mildly disappointed by. A car that's not quite the right color. A painting that's close to what they wanted but not quite. But what do I know? You're the expert. This is a specific type of insult. It's the kind where he's agreeing with me while simultaneously undermining me. It's a way of mocking me while maintaining the ability to say he was just being complimentary if I call him out. It's gaslighting disguised as flattery. I think they're ready, I say, pulling them off the heat. My hands are shaking slightly, and I hate myself for the shaking, which makes the shaking worse. I'm allowing him to make me doubt myself. I'm allowing him to give me anxiety over eggs. Let me see. I slide the eggs onto a plate. He inspects them with the seriousness of a restaurant critic who's been hired to assess a fine dining experience, even though he eats the same eggs every single Saturday morning, and his standards shift based on his mood, not on the actual quality of the eggs. Better, he says, which is what he always says when he wants me to know they're not quite right, but he's tired of arguing about it. It's the crumb he throws me, not actual approval, just the suggestion that maybe next time I'll succeed. Come on, let's eat. We eat at the dining room table, and I watch Derek scroll through news on his iPad while I eat alone. This is normal. This is how we eat. He reads. I sit quietly. If I try to talk to him, he tells me he's trying to concentrate. If I don't talk to him, he tells me I'm being distant and cold. There's no way to win. There's only the narrow path of being present but not intrusive, visible but not demanding. I'm thinking about how this started. 3 years ago, Derek seemed different. 3 years ago, he seemed confident in a way that felt strong. He seemed interested in me in a way that felt like attention. He seemed to want to improve me in a way that felt like he cared. But somewhere along the way, the attention became surveillance. The interest became control. The desire to improve me became an obsession with finding ways I was deficient. I remember the first time he made a critical comment about my appearance. We were at a dinner party, and I was wearing a dress I liked. Derek pulled me aside and told me that the dress made me look fat. It was an observation, he said. He was just trying to help me. If I wanted his opinion, he'd keep giving it to me. If I didn't want his opinion, I shouldn't ask for it. I never asked for his opinion. But he kept giving it. My hair was too long, then too short. My makeup made me look like a clown, then like I wasn't trying anymore. My job wasn't important enough, but if I spent too much time on work, I was neglecting our relationship. Every aspect of my existence was subject to his critique. And the worst part? Some days I believed him. Some days I looked in the mirror and saw what he saw, a fundamentally flawed person who couldn't do anything right. So, Derek says, finally putting down the iPad, I want to go to Whole Foods. I need some things for the office. Whole Foods on Saturday morning is not ideal. It's crowded. Derek gets anxious in crowds, which means he gets mean in crowds. He becomes hypervigilant, convinced that people are judging him, convinced that I'm somehow responsible for the crowded conditions. But I don't say this, because saying it means contradicting him, and contradicting him means he'll insist on going to prove that he's not anxious, that he's perfectly fine, and that I'm the one making it a big deal. Okay, I say. What time? Now, he says. He finally looks up from the iPad, and his expression suggests that the eggs weren't as good as I thought they were. Unless you need to get ready or something. Unless you're too incompetent to just grab your purse and go. I'm already ready. I showered while he was sleeping, did my hair and makeup while he was having coffee. I'm always ready, because being unprepared gives him something else to criticize. But he doesn't know that I'm already ready, because I've learned to hide my readiness. If he knew I was waiting around for him all morning, he'd accuse me of not having a life, of being too focused on him, of being clingy. I just need to grab a purse, I say. The parking lot is crowded. Derek circles multiple times, frustrated by the lack of ideal parking spots, before finally settling for one that's farther away than he wanted. This is why I don't like coming here on Saturdays, he says, even though this is the first Saturday we've come here in months. I mentioned going yesterday when he decided we needed to go today. It's always like this. We could come another time, I offer, which is a mistake because it gives him something to work with. Are you saying I made a bad choice? He asks. His voice shifts into that particular register of aggressive innocence. Because I can make my own decisions. I don't need you questioning every choice I make. No, I just meant. Never mind, he says, cutting me off. Forget it, let's just go, but don't complain if it's crowded. The store is busy. Saturday morning energy. Families with children, couples picking out groceries, solo shoppers with their lists. There's a kind of Saturday morning peace in a Whole Foods, a sense that people are here because they want to be, because they're taking time to pick out good food for themselves. I like Whole Foods. I like the colors of the produce section, the way everything is organized with meticulous care. I like that I can get lost in the detail of choosing vegetables and forget, for a moment, that I'm being surveilled by someone who loves me in the way a collector loves objects. Derek pushes the shopping cart like he's angry at it. He pushes it too hard, makes it squeak, draws the attention of people nearby. But he doesn't seem to care. He's looking for a reason to be upset. The cart is the reason. The crowd is the reason. I'm the reason. We make it through the store without incident until we get to the produce section. The produce section is where everything falls apart. I'm holding a bunch of kale, the curly kind, the kind I always buy because it tastes good in smoothies, and it's the kind I like. I'm thinking about making a stir-fry tonight, about how I'll use this kale with garlic and ginger and sesame oil. I'm thinking about something other than Derek, which is apparently the problem. Derek stops abruptly next to me. What the fuck are you doing? He says. It's a genuine question, but it's phrased like I've committed some kind of crime. His voice is loud enough that people in the immediate vicinity can hear it. I watch their reactions. The woman with a young child who suddenly becomes very interested in the apples 2 rows over. The older man who picks up a piece of ginger with the intensity of someone trying to disappear from the current moment. The college-aged kid who pulls out his phone and scrolls with exaggerated focus. I know this feeling. It's the feeling right before something bad happens. It's the feeling of impact in slow motion. I'm getting kale, I say. My stomach has already dropped. I know this voice. I know this tone. You're getting the wrong kale, Derek says. He takes the kale out of my hand, and his hand closing around the bunch is possessive. This is a familiar gesture. This is a gesture that says everything I touch is subject to his judgment. You always get the wrong kale. It's the kind I like, I say, and immediately I know this is the wrong response. I know that this is me defending myself, which is not allowed. I don't care what you like, Derek says. His voice is getting louder. You're supposed to get the flat-leafed kind. This is curly. This is the kind for peasants. This is the kind that people who don't know anything about food get. He says, peasants, like it's a real category. We're dividing people into based on kale preference. Like vegetable selection is a legitimate measure of social class. Like I've somehow indicated my fundamental inferiority by choosing the wrong leaf shape. The recipe calls for, I try, and he cuts me off. I don't need you to explain kale to me, Derek says. He's louder now, or maybe he's always been this loud and I'm just now noticing. You're stupid. You're actually stupid. You've done this 100 times, and you still don't know which kale to buy. I can feel everyone looking at me now, or at least everyone is consciously not looking at me, which is its own form of witness. The woman with the child has moved away entirely. The older man is now in the next aisle, but still within earshot. The college kid is paying very close attention to his phone while standing completely still. There's a particular quality to being humiliated in public that's different from being humiliated in private. In private, it's just pain. In public, it's pain plus shame plus the awareness that other people are watching you experience that pain. It's the knowledge that you're being judged not just by the person hurting you, but by all the witnesses who are deciding whether you deserve what's happening to you. I'm holding myself together by the thinnest thread. I can feel tears starting to build behind my eyes, and I'm trying to suppress them because crying will only make this worse. Crying will only confirm that I'm emotional, that I'm irrational, that I can't handle even the simplest tasks without falling apart. I'm sorry, I say. I can get the other kind. You're sorry? Derek laughs, a sharp sound that makes a child 3 aisles over turn and look. You're sorry that you're stupid. That's not something you can fix with an apology. I'm trying to figure out how to respond in a way that won't make him angrier. This is what my brain has learned to do, calculate responses like I'm solving a math problem. If I defend myself, he'll get angrier. If I apologize, he'll say I'm not being genuine. If I cry, he'll mock me for being emotional. If I stay silent, he'll say I'm being disrespectful. There is no correct response. There is only the response that might possibly make this worse than it already is. Let me just... I reach for the flat-leafed kale, and Derek steps between me and the vegetables. I'll get it, he says, like I've done something wrong by trying to fix the situation. He selects a bunch of the flat-leafed kale with exaggerated care, holding it up like he's presenting evidence to a jury. He's won something. He's proven something about himself or about me, and he's won. And now he can continue with his day feeling slightly better about himself, because he's made me feel worse about myself. I'm looking at the other shoppers, and I'm trying to see if anyone is going to help me. The woman with the child is gone. The older man is firmly in another aisle. The college kid is staring at his phone with the intensity of someone who is trying very hard not to exist in this moment. Nobody is going to help me. That's when a man appears next to me. He's in his early 40s with dark hair that's graying at the temples. His eyes suggest he's experienced things, actual things, not just the petty cruelties of everyday life. There's a physical presence to him, not threatening, but authoritative. The kind of authority that comes from someone who's used to being in control and doesn't need to perform that control for anyone. He's wearing an expensive suit that probably costs more than my monthly rent. He has an expensive watch that I notice because Derek is always talking about how much watches cost, how you can tell a man's worth by his watch. This watch is worth more than Derek's entire wardrobe. He looks completely out of place in the Whole Foods produce section, which is probably the point. He looks at me first, and his expression is one of genuine concern. Not judgment, not the awkward discomfort of other shoppers who want to be anywhere but here. Actual concern. The kind of concern that comes from someone who's seen this situation before and understands what's happening. "Excuse me," he says, and his voice is low enough that only I can hear it. Derek is already looking at the other vegetables, satisfied with his victory, pleased with himself for having proven a point about kale. "I think you dropped something." I look down, I'm holding the curly kale in my hand. My purse is over my shoulder. There's nothing on the ground, there's nothing I've dropped. "What?" I ask. "Your dignity," he says quietly. His voice is matter-of-fact, like he's just pointing out an objective fact about the world. Like he's telling me it's raining outside or that they're out of organic apples. "But I think you left it in the parking lot. You should probably go get it." I don't understand the words at first, and then I do. He's telling me to leave. He's telling me to get away from Derek. He's telling me that what's happening is wrong and that I should remove myself from this situation. Before I can respond, Derek turns around. "Who the hell do you think you are?" Derek says. His voice has taken on a particular quality of aggression that comes when he feels challenged. I've heard this voice before, usually when someone at work hasn't respected him properly or when a waiter has gotten his order wrong. It's the voice of someone whose sense of authority is being questioned, and he's deciding whether he can reassert control. "This is none of your business." "I don't think I'm anyone," the man says. He turns to face Derek now, and something shifts in his bearing. He's larger than Derek in a way that has nothing to do with physical size. There's a certainty in his posture, a relaxation in his shoulders that suggests he's not worried about this conversation going badly. But I don't like seeing people being disrespected in public, so I'm making it my business. "This is between me and Emma," Derek says. He steps toward the stranger and I can see him calculating. Can he win this confrontation? Can he dominate this man the way he dominates me? The stranger is taller. The stranger is older. The stranger has a kind of confidence that Derek's insecurity will never match. I can see Derek doing the mental math and coming up short. "We're having a private conversation." She doesn't look like she wants to be having this conversation, the stranger says. He doesn't look at Derek while he says this. He looks at me. His eyes are asking a question. Do you want this to stop? Do you? I don't know how to answer. If I say no, I'm contradicting Derek in front of a stranger, which will make him furious. If I say yes, I'm admitting that Derek was wrong to speak to me that way, which will also make him furious. There is no correct answer. Come on, Emma, Derek says. He reaches for my arm. His hand closes around my wrist, and it's not gentle. He's been holding me this way for 3 years, like I'm something that belongs to him and can be moved around at his discretion. My body has learned not to flinch, but my mind is always flinching. The bones of my wrist are delicate. His grip is tight. I've learned to accept that pain. We're leaving. The stranger steps between us. She's going to decide if she's leaving, the man says. His voice hasn't changed. It's still calm, still matter of fact. But there's steel underneath it, the kind of steel that comes from someone who's accustomed to having his authority respected. Not you. For a moment, I think Derek is going to punch him. I can see it in Derek's face. The calculation, the rage, the moment where his pride is warring with his sense of self-preservation. Derek is used to being able to dominate people through voice and intimidation. This man is not someone Derek can dominate. This man is not someone whose sense of masculine authority Derek can challenge successfully. Derek's jaw clenches. His hand is still on my wrist, but his grip loosens slightly. He's realizing that he's losing, that this is not something he can fight his way back from. He lets go of my arm. He's breathing heavily, his face red with humiliation. He looks around the produce section at the people who are now openly staring. He looks at me, and I can see him calculating how much worse he can make this if he tries to escalate. He decides it's not worth it. Get home, he calls back as he walks away. His voice is loud enough to carry, to make sure people know he's leaving of his own volition, not because he was forced to leave. We're not done with this. And then he's gone. He walks away through the produce section, past the other shoppers who are now openly watching, past the woman with the child who's returned to see how this ends, out through the glass doors. I watch him go, and I'm not sure if I'm relieved or terrified. My hands are shaking. My heart is racing. I don't know whether to thank this stranger or run after Derek. Thank you, I say, because gratitude is the safest social response. Thank you for. You're welcome, he replies. He's looking at me with an expression of genuine concern. Are you okay? Am I okay? No, I'm not okay. I'm shaking. I'm facing the reality that Derek is going home angry, which means I'm going home to something terrible. I'm facing the fact that this stranger just made things exponentially worse by humiliating Derek in public in front of witnesses. Derek is going to punish me for this. He's going to spend the entire evening making me pay for the fact that another man intervened. He's going to tell me that I made him look bad, that I encouraged this stranger's behavior, that I've betrayed him somehow. But I've also just experienced something I didn't know was possible. I've experienced someone taking my side. I've experienced someone telling Derek that his behavior was wrong. I've experienced someone caring about my dignity more than they cared about avoiding conflict. But I've also learned to lie. I will be, I say instead. He studies me for a moment, and I can see him calculating something. Weighing options, making decisions about whether this is something he's going to involve himself in further. Do you need help? He asks. The question is simple, but it opens up an entire landscape of possibility. Do I need help? Yes. I've needed help for 3 years. I've needed help for long enough that I've stopped asking for it. I've needed help in a way that feels so big and so complicated that I don't even know how to articulate what kind of help I need. But something about this question, asked by this stranger in a Whole Foods produce section, feels like an actual offer. Not the kind of help that comes with strings attached. Not the kind of help that requires me to be grateful in specific ways. Just, do you need help? I need to get out, I say, and the words surprise me. I've been thinking about getting out for months. I've been researching apartments and checking my savings and trying to figure out a way to disappear from Derek's life. But I haven't said it out loud to anyone. Saying it out loud makes it real. It makes it a choice instead of a fantasy. Then let's go, he says. Leave the kale. His car is a Rolls-Royce. The kind of car that screams wealth and power in a way that makes me deeply nervous about who this person is and what I'm doing getting into his car. But I'm also thinking about Derek going home alone. I'm thinking about the hours before I have to face him. I'm thinking about the possibility that I might not have to go home at all. I get in the car. He drives smoothly, competently, like someone who's used to being in control in any situation. The leather interior smells expensive. Everything about the car speaks of wealth and power. The smooth ride, the way other cars move aside for him, the respect the valet at Whole Foods showed him when they arrived. I'm acutely aware of my own presence in this car. My anxiety, my shaking hands, my worn-out purse from a discount store, my affordable but no longer fashionable clothes. My entire existence seems smaller in this car, more insignificant. We drive in silence for a while. I'm watching the landscape change. We're moving away from the Whole Foods, away from my apartment, away from Derek. Each block we drive, I feel like I'm disappearing into a new world where the normal rules don't apply, where people have choices, where people aren't controlled by someone else's mood. After about 15 minutes of driving, I ask the question that's building in my chest. "What's your name?" I ask him, finally breaking the silence. "Victor," he says. "Victor Valdez, and you are?" "Emma," I reply. "Emma Chen. Thank you for getting me out of that situation." "You shouldn't have been in that situation to begin with," Victor says. He's driving smoothly, competently, like he's done this before. Like he rescues women from abusive boyfriends in Whole Foods produce sections on Saturday mornings as a matter of routine. "A man who talks to you like that doesn't deserve to be in your life." "I know," I say. My hands are in my lap, and I'm trying to stop them from shaking. "But it's complicated. I have an apartment with him. I have finances tangled up with him. I have a life with him." "You have a life that's being destroyed by him," Victor corrects. He doesn't say it unkindly, but he says it with the absolute certainty of someone who's seen this situation play out before. "You should leave." "Where would I go?" I ask. It's the question that's kept me in the apartment with Derek for 6 months after I decided I couldn't do it anymore. Where does a woman go when she has no savings, no credit in her own name, and a boyfriend who controls every aspect of her life? Where do you go when the person you live with monitors your bank account and has passwords to your email? Where do you go when leaving means starting completely over with nothing? We drive for another 20 minutes. I'm watching the city pass by, neighborhoods I've never been to, streets I don't recognize, a sense that I'm traveling further and further away from everything I know. Which is good? Which is exactly what I need? Victor takes me to a small coffee shop in a part of Miami I'm not familiar with. It's the kind of place where nobody looks at you, where you could sit for hours and nobody would care. It's quiet and anonymous, which is perfect. There's a Spanish-language newspaper on one of the tables. There's a barista who clearly recognizes Victor, but who doesn't acknowledge him in any obvious way. There's a sense that this is a place for discreet conversations. We sit at a table in the corner. Victor orders coffee for both of us without asking what I want, which is a small assertion of control, but it's the kind of control that feels like care. He's decided what I need, and he's providing it. It's paternalistic, but it's also kind. It's a stark contrast to Derek, whose decisions about what I need are designed to belittle me. He slides a business card across the table. It's heavy paper. Expensive, linen finish. But it's essentially blank, just a phone number printed in elegant lettering. No name, no business, no indication of who Victor Valdez is, just 10 digits that could lead anywhere. "Call me if you need help," he says. "Anytime. Doesn't matter what time or what you need. You call me and I'll help you." "Why would you help me?" I ask. "You don't know me." "Because I can," Victor says. "Because I have resources and you need them. Because I don't like seeing people being disrespected and abused, and I have the ability to do something about it." It sounds like a line. It sounds too smooth, too rehearsed, too convenient. But he says it with a kind of sincerity that makes me believe him. Or maybe I'm just desperate to believe him. Maybe I'm at the point where I'm willing to believe anyone who offers me a way out, regardless of what strings might come with that way out. He takes a sip of coffee and looks at me directly. "I know this is strange," he says, I know that you just met me 15 minutes ago. I know that you're probably wondering if I'm dangerous or crazy or trying to set you up for something. But I'm going to be honest with you. I can help you. And I want to help you. That's all you need to know right now. Why? I ask again because I don't understand why a stranger would care. Why a stranger would put himself in the middle of someone else's relationship. Why a stranger would offer help without wanting something in return. Let me show you something, Victor says. He pulls out his phone and shows me a photo of a teenage girl, probably 16 or 17 years old. This is my daughter. Her mother died when she was very young. I was not a good father. I was never home. I was involved in things that I shouldn't have been involved in. My daughter grew up without a real parent. I can't go back and change that. But I can try to prevent other women from ending up like my daughter's mother did, trapped in a bad situation with no way out. He puts the phone away and doesn't explain further. Okay, I say, because I don't know what else to say. I don't go home. Instead, I use my credit card, the one Derek doesn't know about, the one I've been quietly building a secret life with for 6 months, to book a hotel room. A cheap one, not because I'm trying to be economical, but because an expensive hotel would attract attention. An expensive hotel would be the kind of place Derek might think to look. I choose a place that's off the main road, the kind of place that doesn't ask questions and has a handwritten sign that says, "No visitors after 10 p.m. I sit on the bed and I shake. I shake because I'm free, or at least free for tonight. I shake because I'm terrified of what will happen when I go back. I shake because Derek is probably home right now, waiting for me, thinking about all the ways he's going to punish me for being humiliated in Whole Foods in front of a stranger. I turn on my phone, which I turned off in Victor's car because I was afraid Derek would track me using location services. There are 47 text messages. I scroll through them in order, watching them progress from concerned to angry to threatening. Where are you? This isn't funny. You're making me look like an asshole. When you get home, you're going to regret this. You're going to wish you had treated me with respect. I know where you are. That last one is the most terrifying. Because the truth is, Derek doesn't know where I am right now, but he could probably figure it out. He could call my friends and ask. He could track my credit card. He could sit outside my office and wait for me to show up. He could call the places I frequent and ask if I've been there. There are 100 ways for Derek to find me because I haven't actually built a life outside of him. I've just hidden some money and made some plans that I was never brave enough to execute. Until today. I delete the messages one by one. I don't respond. I sit on the hotel bed and I try to figure out what I'm supposed to do now. That's when my phone rings. It's an unknown number. I almost don't answer, but something makes me pick up. "Hi, Emma," a male voice says. It's not Derek. "This is Victor. I hope you don't mind. I did some digging after you left." He has my phone number. He knows my last name. He's clearly done more than some digging. He's clearly put resources into finding out who I am. "How did you get this number?" I ask. My voice is shaking. Everything about this situation is escalating beyond my control. "It's not important," Victor says. "What's important is that you're safe right now. Where are you?" Every instinct in my body is telling me this is wrong. This is a stranger who picked me up at Whole Foods. This is someone who knows too much about me. This is someone who might be as dangerous as Derek, just in a different way. But I'm also desperately alone, and Victor is the only person who's shown me any kind of care in months. "A hotel," I say. "Cheap, anonymous, off the main road." "Give me the address," Victor says. I do. "Stay there," he says. "I'm sending someone to bring you some things. Some clothes, some money, anything you need. Don't be afraid." The person who arrives at my hotel room an hour later is a woman named Diana. She's professional and efficient. She doesn't smile, but she's not unkind. She's the kind of person who works for someone powerful. She has that particular combination of respect and fear that comes from being employed by someone who could destroy you with a word. She brings me a bag of clothes that somehow fit perfectly. Victor knows my size. Victor has researched me thoroughly enough to know what size clothes I wear. She brings me a stack of cash. I count it, and there's $5,000. She brings me a phone that's separate from my regular phone, a burner phone with a SIM card that has no connection to my name. Mr. Valdez wanted me to make sure you had a way to contact him that won't show up on your regular phone, Diana says. She speaks like she's delivering information, not advice. Mr. Valdez also wanted me to tell you that you need to understand something. What you did today, leaving your boyfriend, that was brave. But it also has consequences. What kind of consequences? I ask. Derek is not going to just let you go, Diana says. He's going to look for you. He's going to try to hurt you. He's going to try to drag you back because his sense of control has been taken away from him. Mr. Valdez can protect you, but protecting you is going to require you to trust him, and trusting him is going to require you to understand who he is. Derek finds me the next day. He shows up at the hotel around 6 p.m., probably after spending the entire day tracking my credit card, calling around to hotels, trying to figure out where I could have possibly gone. He looks angry and hurt and betrayed all at the same time, which is the trick of manipulation, making the person you're hurting feel responsible for your emotional state. He's standing in the hotel hallway outside my room, and when I open the door, I'm terrified. Not because Derek is going to hurt me physically, he's never actually hit me, but because I know exactly what he's going to say, and I know that some part of me will believe him. Emma, he says, and his voice is almost pleading. What are you doing? Come home, let's talk about this. I'm standing in the hotel room doorway, and I realize that I'm terrified. But I'm also something else. I'm angry. I'm furious at him for treating me like I'm stupid. I'm furious at him for making me doubt myself. I'm furious at him for 3 years of slow erosion of my sense of self. I can't, I say. You can't. Derek laughs, but there's no humor in it. You're really going to throw away 3 years because I criticized you about Kale, because some guy made you feel special for 5 minutes. It's not about Kale, I say. It's about you treating me like I'm stupid. It's about 3 years of you telling me I'm not good enough. It's about you making me feel like I'm fundamentally broken. I tell you these things because I love you, Derek says. I tell you these things so you can be better. If I didn't care about you, I wouldn't bother. I would just let you be mediocre. And there it is. There's the argument that's kept me in this relationship for 3 years. There's the logic that's made me believe that his criticism is actually a form of care. That his words are meant to improve me, not hurt me. I'm about to respond, to argue, to defend, to try to make him understand, when there's a knock on the hotel room door. It's not the housekeeping knock. It's not a tentative knock. It's a confident, authoritative knock. The kind of knock that says the person behind it is used to having their authority respected. Victor is standing in the hallway when I open the door. He's not alone. There are 2 large men standing behind him, the kind of men who work in security or enforcement or things that people don't talk about at dinner parties. Their presence is purely physical. They don't say anything, but they make clear through their bearing that Victor's word is law. Get away from her, Victor says to Derek. His voice is completely calm, which is somehow more terrifying than if he had yelled. Emma, go inside. Pack a bag, you're not coming back here. Derek looks at Victor, and I can see the calculation happening in his brain. He's realizing that this is not a man he can verbally bully. This is not a man he can dominate through words or manipulation or emotional leverage. This is a man with resources and power and probably won't hesitate to use them. This is between me and Emma, Derek says, trying to sound confident but sounding hollow. No, Victor says. It's not. Emma is no longer your concern. You're going to take your things and leave her apartment. You're going to stop contacting her. You're going to stop trying to find her. And if you don't, I'm going to make sure that your life becomes very difficult. It's a threat, and it's delivered with such certainty that even I'm afraid of him for a moment. The 2 men behind him don't move. They don't need to move. Their mere presence is enough. Derek looks at me, and I can see something in his expression shift. He's understanding, finally, that he's lost. That this is not something he can fight his way back from. You're going to regret this, Derek says to me, but his voice is small now. All his power is gone. He leaves. He just walks away down the hotel hallway, and I'm standing in a hotel room doorway with Victor Valdez and 2 men I don't know, and I'm shaking, and I don't know whether I'm grateful or terrified or both. Victor sets me up in an apartment the next day. It's in a good neighborhood, A small one-bedroom with a view of the water and a balcony where I can see boats moving across Biscayne Bay. The furniture is modern and expensive, but not ostentatious. Everything about it speaks of someone who has taste and money, but doesn't need to announce it to the world. He pays for 3 months up front in cash and gives me a credit card that has no limits. For living expenses, he says, though we both know it's about making sure I never feel trapped again. He's literally removing the financial justification for staying in a bad situation. I can't accept this, I say, looking at the credit card. Yes, you can, Victor says. You can accept it because you deserve to have choices. You can accept it because someone who loves you wants to make sure you never feel like you're trapped again. I spend my first few days in the apartment alone, processing what's happened. I've left Derek. I've accepted help from a criminal who says he's falling in love with me. I've done something that most rational people would call insane. I've disrupted the entire structure of my life. But I've also slept through the night without anxiety. I've woken up without immediately thinking about what Derek might criticize about my appearance. I've made coffee for myself without calculating whether Derek would approve of which mug I'm using. I've spent the entire day thinking about myself instead of thinking about him. It's a strange kind of freedom. Victor comes by the apartment that evening. He's brought food from a restaurant I can't afford, expensive wine, flowers that probably cost more than I usually spend on groceries in a week. He's brought music on vinyl, classical music, the kind that fills the space without demanding attention. "How are you doing?" he asks. It's a simple question, but nobody has asked it with genuine interest in years. I'm scared, I admit. I'm scared that Derek is going to find me. I'm scared that this is too good to be true. I'm scared that I'm going to wake up and realize I've made a terrible mistake. You're allowed to be scared, Victor says. But you don't need to be. I'm going to take care of you. Why? I ask. It's the question that keeps coming back to me. Why are you investing this much in someone you just met? Because life is short, Victor says. And most people spend most of their life doing things that don't matter. I've spent most of my life building an empire that's built on hurting people. I've done things I can't undo, but maybe I can do something good for one person. Maybe I can save one person from a bad situation. I'm not Charity, I say. I'm feeling defensive because I'm starting to like him, and if I like him, that means this might be real, and if it's real, then everything changes. I know you're not, Victor replies. I know that you're a person who reads books and likes curly kale and deserves better than what you've been getting. I know that. And I know that I'm dangerous and probably not what you should want. But I want you, and I'm going to be honest about who I am and what I do. And then you're going to decide if you can accept that. A week after I move into the apartment, Victor sits me down on the couch and tells me exactly who he is. It's evening. We've been cooking dinner together, and it's been surprisingly domestic. Victor chopping vegetables, me putting together a salad, the two of us moving around the kitchen like we've done this 100 times instead of 0 times. But as the dinner is finishing, Victor's energy shifts. I need to tell you something, he says, and I need you to listen to the entire thing before you react. We sit on the couch, and he takes my hand. I run a cocaine distribution network across the Southeast, he says. There's no preamble, no softening of the facts. Just the truth, delivered cleanly. I import product from Colombia and I distribute it through Miami, Tampa, Orlando, and Atlanta. I make approximately $200 million a year. I'm sitting there trying to process the number. $200 million per year. I make $40,000 a year as a publishing editor. I've never even conceived of that much money. I can't wrap my mind around a number that large. I've been arrested 3 times, Victor continues, and I've beaten all 3 charges through legal maneuvering and bribery. I have connections with local law enforcement and political figures. I have people who work for me who would kill for me without hesitation. I have enemies who would kill me if they could. He pauses, letting this sink in. I've hurt people, Victor says. I've had people hurt for me. I've destroyed lives in the process of building my empire. There are families out there who don't have fathers or sons because of decisions I made. There are people who are addicted to drugs that I brought into this country. There are people who have overdosed on cocaine I brought into this country. I'm not a good man, Emma. I'm a man who's made a lot of money doing bad things. The confession is delivered with such calm that it takes a moment to absorb. Why are you telling me this? I ask, though I think I know. I think he's trying to give me an out. He's trying to show me exactly who he is so I can decide if I can accept that. Because I love you, Victor says. And I can't be in a relationship with someone who doesn't know exactly who I am. I can't lie to you. I can't pretend to be something I'm not. If you're going to be with me, you need to know everything. Everything? I ask. Almost everything, Victor says. There are some things I can't tell you because it's safer for you if you don't know them. But everything you're asking, everything that matters, you can know. That night, I lie in bed and I try to process the fact that I'm in love with a drug kingpin. It's insane. It's illegal. It's morally complicated in a way that I can't quite work through. But it's also the first time in years that I've felt like someone actually cares about me. Not the person they want me to be, but me. My actual self, with my doubts and fears and the parts of me that are broken. I think about Derek and his criticism. I think about how he told me I was stupid while pretending to care about my improvement. I think about Victor, who's a criminal, who's hurt people, but who's being honest with me about who he is. Somehow, Victor's honesty feels more loving than Derek's disguised contempt. We spend the next 3 months getting to know each other in a way I didn't think was possible. Victor takes me to restaurants I could never have afforded. We travel to the Keys for weekends, and he rents a boat, and we explore mangrove forests and eat fresh fish at sunset. He buys me clothes that fit perfectly because he's apparently hired someone to understand my style and size. He buys me books I mention wanting to read. I offhandedly comment that I've been wanting to read a new edition of The Brothers Karamazov, and the next day he's given me a beautiful leather-bound copy. He listens to me talk about my job in publishing. He actually engages with my thoughts about literature and storytelling. He asks me about books I've edited. He reads manuscripts I'm working on. He becomes involved in my professional life in a way that Derek never was. But we also talk about his world. He tells me about specific deals that went wrong. He tells me about a distributor in Atlanta who tried to skim money. Victor's response was to have the man's warehouses seized and his supply chain destroyed. The man fled the state. He tells me about a competitor in Tampa who was moving in on his territory. The competitor had a car accident that left him paralyzed. Whether the accident was actually an accident, he doesn't clarify. He tells me about the moral compromises he makes on a daily basis. How he tells himself that people are going to use cocaine whether he provides it or not, so at least his product is better quality than the alternatives. How he tells himself that he's creating jobs for people who wouldn't have work otherwise. How he tells himself that he's just meeting a demand that exists. I don't believe his rationalizations, but I understand where they come from. I understand that people develop frameworks to justify their own behavior. I understand that Victor has spent decades building a narrative where his crimes make sense. One night, Victor tells me he wants me to meet some people. These are important people in my life, he says. Not the criminal people, the legitimate side. You should know who I am in the business world. We go to a restaurant where the owner clearly knows Victor. The owner hugs him. The waiters treat him with deference. We're seated at the best table immediately, without reservation. Victor introduces me to 3 men, his legitimate business associates. One owns a series of hotels across South Florida. One owns real estate developments that are transforming downtown Miami. One is an accountant who manages legitimate finances and probably launders money, though we don't discuss this. This is Emma, Victor says, his hand on my back. She's important to me. I want you all to know that she's under my protection. The implication is clear. Anyone who harms her will have to answer to Victor. They treat me with kindness, but I can see the calculation in their eyes. They're wondering how long I'll last. They're wondering if Victor's feeling is real or temporary. They're wondering if I understand what I'm getting into. Afterward in the car, I ask Victor about it. Why did you introduce me like that? I ask. Like I needed protection. Because you do, Victor says. You exist in my world now. And in my world, you need people to know that you're valuable to me. You need people to know that harming you would be expensive. So I'm a possession, I say. No, Victor says. You're a person I love, but in my world, love and possession are sometimes the same thing. In my world, if you're important to someone, you're protected, and that protection comes with a price. One night, he takes me to a warehouse on the outskirts of Miami. I don't ask questions, because I've learned that there are some things I don't want to know. But when we get there, he opens the door to show me what's inside. The warehouse is filled with boxes. Thousands of boxes. Maybe tens of thousands. The entire space is organized with military precision. Boxes stacked carefully, labeled systematically, inventoried presumably with computer systems. This is not a criminal operation run by amateurs. This is a professional enterprise. Armed guards stand at each corner of the warehouse. They nod at Victor but don't acknowledge me. This is part of my empire, he says. Each box contains cocaine. This much product represents about $50 million in wholesale value and $200 million in street value. This is what I do. This is what my life has been built on. I'm standing there looking at $200 million worth of cocaine, and I'm thinking about all the lives this will destroy. I'm thinking about addiction and overdose and families falling apart. I'm thinking about the fact that I'm in love with the person who's bringing this poison into the country. I'm also thinking about Emma Chen, 28-year-old publishing editor, standing in a Miami warehouse surrounded by enough cocaine to change the course of thousands of lives. Why did you show me this? I ask. My voice is very small. Because I want you to know exactly what you're choosing, Victor says. I want you to know what my hands are dirty with. I want you to understand that being with me means accepting this part of my life. We walk through the warehouse, and I notice the guards following us at a distance. I notice the security cameras. I notice this is a tightly controlled operation. Do you want me to leave? I ask. I want you to choose to stay, Victor says, but I want that choice to be an informed one. I choose to stay. I choose to stay because he's honest with me. I choose to stay because he's never lied to me about who he is. I choose to stay because for the first time in my life, someone is treating me like my agency matters. Like my choice to accept him is real and meaningful and respected. After the warehouse visit, I don't sleep. I lie in bed next to Victor, and I think about what I've seen. I think about all the people who will use that cocaine. I think about the families that will be destroyed. I think about the overdoses and the addiction and the suffering that I'm now complicit in. I think about leaving him. I think about calling a lawyer and getting out of Miami entirely. I think about going back to my family and admitting that I made a terrible mistake. I think about the fact that I've now seen $200 million worth of cocaine, and I can't report it without implicating Victor, which means I can't report it at all. In the morning, I'm angry. How can you do this? I ask Victor. We're in the kitchen and I'm making coffee and I'm furious. How can you live with yourself? I don't live with myself very well, Victor says. That's why I wanted to help you. That's why I wanted to do something good. Because the rest of my life is built on destroying people. So saving me makes it okay, I ask. So your good deed cancels out all the overdoses. No, Victor says. No, it doesn't. Nothing cancels that out. I'm a bad man, Emma. I've done bad things. I'm going to do more bad things because this is my life and I don't know how to be anything else. But I can be honest about it, and I can love you. And I can try to do better in small ways. That's not enough, I say. I know, Victor says, but it's all I have. I walk out of the apartment, and I don't come back for 3 days. I stay in a hotel, and I think about whether I can be with someone like Victor. I think about whether loving him makes me complicit in his crimes. I think about whether my choice to stay with him is a moral compromise I can accept. I call my mother, and I don't tell her about Victor. I just tell her I'm thinking about her and I'm sorry for cutting her off. She's kind on the phone. She doesn't ask questions. She just tells me she loves me. On the 4th day, I call Victor. I'm coming back, I say, but I need you to understand something. I'm not okay with what you do. I'm not going to pretend to be okay with it. But I love you and I'm going to stay with you anyway. And that's my choice. That's my moral compromise. Okay, Victor says. I need you to understand that means I get to judge you, I say. I get to be angry about what you do. I get to express my disgust. And you don't get to make me feel bad about having moral standards. Okay, Victor says. And I need to know that you're trying, I say. I need to know that you want to change. I need to know that this doesn't go on forever. I can't promise that, Victor says. But I can promise that I'm thinking about it. I can promise that I'm not satisfied with who I am. I go back to the apartment, and we don't talk about it again. But something has shifted. I've drawn a line. I've declared my standards. And Victor has accepted them. I don't know exactly how long the FBI has been investigating Victor. He mentions it casually one morning over breakfast, like he's mentioning that the weather is nice. The FBI has been building a case against me for about 8 years, he says. They have informants in my organization. They have wiretaps on my phone. They're very close to having enough to prosecute. Why are you telling me this? I ask. The eggs are cooling on my plate. I suddenly can't eat. Because I've been expecting my arrest for years, Victor says. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I want you to know what to expect. What should I expect? I ask. I'm going to go to prison, Victor says. It's going to be for a significant amount of time. And you're going to have to decide if you're going to wait for me or if you're going to move on with your life. How much time? I ask. I don't know, Victor says. But given the charges they're building, I'm guessing somewhere between 15 and 30 years. 30 years? Victor would be 75 years old. I would be 58. 30 years of prison visits. 30 years of my life organized around federal prison schedules. I'm going to wait for you, I say, but the words feel hollow. I'm making a promise about a future I don't understand. I'm committing to something that sounds impossible. Don't make that promise, Victor says. Don't promise me now. Promise me after I'm arrested. Promise me after you understand what it actually means. It happens on a Tuesday morning. We're in bed. It's early before either of us needs to get up, when there's a bang on the door. It's not a knock. It's the sound of law enforcement with a warrant, the sound of federal agents who know exactly what they're looking for and aren't interested in niceties. FBI, open the door. Someone yells. Victor doesn't panic. He gets out of bed calmly, pulls on pants, and kisses me. This was always going to happen, he says. I've been expecting it for years. Go to the living room and stay there. Don't say anything. Let them arrest me. My lawyer will be waiting at the station. Her name is Patricia Chen. Call her and tell her I've been arrested. She'll take care of everything. He opens the door, and there are approximately 12 FBI agents with guns pointed at him. They tackle him to the ground with more force than necessary, put him in handcuffs, read him his rights. I'm sitting on the couch in the living room, watching them take away the person I love. I'll call you, Victor says as they're dragging him out. Don't worry. The apartment suddenly feels very empty. Victor's lawyer is a woman named Patricia Chen, no relation to me, though she jokes about it. She's expensive and effective, and has a reputation for being able to get criminals out of serious legal trouble. She's also brutally honest. Your boyfriend is going to go to federal prison, Patricia tells me during our first meeting. Her office is in a high-rise downtown. She has floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Miami. The evidence against him is overwhelming. We have wiretaps where he discusses specific cocaine shipments. We have financial records tracking millions of dollars. We have informant testimony. We have surveillance footage of him entering the warehouse. Then what? I ask. Then we negotiate, Patricia says. We try to get him the shortest sentence possible. We try to convince the prosecutors that he's willing to cooperate in some limited way. We try to get him into a facility where he'll have some comfort and some access to programs. We try to make the prison experience as bearable as it can be. Can he cooperate? I ask. Not without getting killed, Patricia says. Victor has made a lot of enemies. If he testifies against his organization, he'll be marked for death. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to accept the reality of his situation and try to minimize the damage. Victor calls me from the holding cell, and his voice is different, smaller. Listen to Patricia, he says. Whatever she tells you to do, do it. If she says I'm going to prison, believe her. If she says the sentence is going to be 20 years, prepare yourself for that. Don't fight it. Just accept it. I don't accept it, I say. I don't accept that you're going to prison. Emma, Victor says, and his voice is gentle. This was always going to happen. I knew this when I met you. I knew that the FBI was building a case against me. I knew that my time was limited. I knew all of this. Then why did you pursue me? I ask. Why did you get involved with me if you knew this was coming? Because I wanted to, Victor says simply. Because for the first time in my life, I wanted something for myself instead of something for my empire. And I wanted you. The trial lasts 6 weeks. I sit in the courtroom every day. I watch as the prosecution presents overwhelming evidence of Victor's criminal enterprise. They play wiretaps where Victor discusses specific deals. They present financial records that track hundreds of millions of dollars moving through various accounts. They bring in informants who describe in detail how Victor's operation works, how the cocaine is imported, distributed, sold, how money is laundered, how payoffs are made to law enforcement and politicians. Victor's lawyer, Patricia, argues that he's not the mastermind, that he's just one piece in a larger organization, that his role has been exaggerated. It's a stupid argument, and Patricia knows it's a stupid argument, but she makes it anyway because that's her job. The evidence is presented in meticulous detail. The wiretaps are played in full. I hear Victor's voice discussing cocaine quantities with such casual matter-of-factness that it's clear this is his normal life, his normal work. One wiretap is particularly damaging. Victor is talking to one of his distributors about a deal gone wrong. I need you to make sure this is handled, Victor says on the recording. I need this person to understand that there are consequences for fucking with my operation. The prosecutor asks the witness what he understood that to mean. He meant someone should hurt the guy, the informant says. Maybe kill him. That's how Victor does things. The jury hears Victor say those words. The jury hears the threat. The jury understands that Victor isn't someone who calls the police when he's wronged. He's someone who orders violence. The jury deliberates for 4 days before coming back with a guilty verdict on all 47 counts. The judge sentences Victor to 25 years. 25 years. I do the math in my head. Victor is 45 now. By the time he gets out, assuming he serves the full sentence, he'll be 70 years old. I'll be 53. Our entire lives will have been defined by this prison sentence. Our relationship will have been conducted almost entirely through glass barriers and visiting room rules. The courtroom is packed. There are reporters. There are people who work for Victor, watching to see how their boss handles being sentenced to prison. There are victim advocates, though I'm not sure who the victims are supposed to be, cocaine users. Distributors who were killed for encroaching on Victor's territory. After the sentencing, Victor is allowed to speak. Your Honor, he says, and his voice is calm and steady. I want to apologize to the families I've harmed through my actions. I want to apologize to the people whose lives have been destroyed because of the drugs I brought into this country. I can't undo what I've done, but I accept the consequences of my actions. I accept this sentence. He looks at me in the gallery, and he says, I want to thank Emma Chen, who has stood by me despite knowing exactly who I am. I want her to know that she's free from the obligation of waiting for me. She should move on. She should build a life that doesn't revolve around my imprisonment. After the sentencing, I drive to the beach and I sit on the sand and I cry. I cry because Victor is going to prison. I cry because I've fallen in love with someone who's going to be in prison for 25 years. I cry because a month ago I was being told I was stupid in a grocery store, and now I'm making one of the most important decisions of my life. I'm sitting on the sand and I'm thinking about what Victor just said in court. He released me from my obligation. He told me to move on. He's giving me permission to leave. But I don't want permission to leave. My phone rings. It's my mother, who I haven't spoken to in years because Derek isolated me from my family. I saw it on the news, she says. Are you okay? No, I say. No, I'm not okay. Come home, she says. Come home and let your family help you. It's tempting. It's so tempting to just go home, to have someone else take care of me, to let myself be a victim and receive sympathy instead of judgment. But I've spent 3 years letting someone else define my life. Derek defined my life through criticism and control. I'm not going to spend the next 25 years having other people define my life through their expectations about what I should do. I have to go, I tell my mother. But thank you, and I'm sorry for cutting you off. I drive to the federal detention facility where Victor is being held. I ask to visit him. Victor sits down across from the glass barrier, and he looks like he's aged 10 years since I last saw him. But his eyes are clear, and he's ready for whatever I'm going to say. I want to wait for you, I tell him. I want to visit you every weekend. I want to write you letters. I want to be there when you get out. Emma, Victor says, I know what it is, I say. It's insane, it's 25 years. It's time you could be spending building a real life. But I love you, and I know who you are, and I choose to wait. Why, Victor asks, why would you do that? Because for the first time in my life, someone chose me, I say. You chose me. You risked your freedom to protect me from Derek. You were honest with me about who you are. You treated me like my thoughts and feelings mattered, and I'm going to choose you. The prison visiting room smells like industrial cleaner and desperation. I'm 30 years old. I'm sitting across a plastic table from the man I love, and there's a plastic barrier between us. There are approximately 40 other inmates and visitors in this room. Children crying, women aging rapidly, an elderly couple holding hands across the table because that's all they're allowed to do. Victor comes through the door, and for a moment I don't recognize him. He's wearing gray prison clothes. His hair is already shorter than I've ever seen it. There's a numbness in his eyes that wasn't there 3 weeks ago. Hi, he says, sitting down. Hi, I say back. We're not allowed to kiss. We're not allowed to touch. We can hold hands across the table, but that's it. His hand is warm, and I'm shocked by how real he feels. For 3 weeks, I've been imagining this moment, and now it's happening, and he's solid and actual and sitting across from me in a federal prison visiting room. How was the drive? He asks. Long, I say, but I got here. You can't do this every weekend, he says. That's 900 miles. I'll do whatever I have to do, I say. We sit in silence for a moment. Around us, other visitors are having conversations. A man is telling his girlfriend about a job he got in the prison library. A woman is telling her husband about their daughter's school play. Everyone here is living in a world that most people don't understand. I got your letter, I tell Victor. He wrote me a letter before I visited. It was 6 pages long. He wrote about the prison routine, about the cell he shares with another inmate, about the fear he feels, about how much he loves me. I read it 17 times, I tell him. He squeezes my hand. I'm going to get through this, he says. We're going to get through this. I know, I say, but I don't know. I'm 30 years old, and I've just committed to waiting for a man in prison for 22 more years. Guard Martinez works Saturday and Sunday mornings. By month 3, he knows me by name. Back again, Emma. He says, smiling like he approves, or maybe like he just recognizes that I'm consistent, that I show up. I've bought a new car because my old one is dying. The transmission gave out on my last drive. I can't afford for my transportation to fail. I can't afford to miss a weekend. The motel I stay at is run by a woman named Patricia. She's in her 60s, divorced twice, and she's kind to me without asking questions. She gives me the same room every weekend. She cleans it extra well. She sometimes leaves a note saying, "You're doing great." I wake up on Saturday mornings at 7 a.m. I shower. I do my hair and makeup. I drive to the prison. I visit Victor from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. I go to the motel. I eat dinner alone. I visit again on Sunday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Then I drive home. This is my life now. On Saturday evening, after the first visit, I sometimes go to a diner near the motel. There are other women there, women like me. Women who visit men in federal prison. We don't talk much, but we recognize each other. We know what it means to be here. One woman who visits her boyfriend tells me, the first year is the hardest. After that, you get numb. I'm not sure if that's encouraging or depressing. I'm 35 years old and I'm breaking. My hair is graying. I have lines around my eyes from stress and exhaustion. I look like someone who's been doing something hard for a long time. On my 105th weekend visit, my car breaks down on the way to Kentucky. I'm on I-75, somewhere in Georgia when the engine just stops. I'm not even speeding. I'm driving the speed limit in the right lane, and suddenly there's this terrible grinding sound and the car just dies. I pull onto the shoulder and I sit there for a moment in complete silence. Then I start crying. Not the quiet kind of crying. The kind where your whole body shakes. The kind where you can't breathe. The kind where you realize you're 45 minutes away from a prison visit that's now not going to happen. A truck driver stops and asks if I need help. I can barely speak. He gets my car towed to a repair shop in the next town. The damage is significant. The engine is shot. I need a new engine, and it's going to cost $3,000. I sit in the repair shop waiting room, and I think about giving up. I think about calling Victor and telling him I can't do this anymore. I think about admitting that I'm not strong enough. I think about moving on with my life like everyone keeps telling me to do. I think about the fact that I'm 35 years old, and I have no boyfriend, no children, no house, no life outside of these drives. I think about the fact that I'm aging in a car on the way to visit a man in federal prison. But then I think about Victor's letters. I think about his voice on the prison phone calls. I think about the fact that he's the only person who's ever treated me like my choices matter. I call my credit card company and authorize the $3,000. I rent a car. I drive to the prison, arriving 6 hours later than I was supposed to. When I see Victor, I'm exhausted. I'm emotionally destroyed. My eyes are swollen from crying. What happened? He asks immediately. My car broke down, I say. Engine's shot, but I'm here. He looks at me across the plastic table, and his expression shifts from concern to something else. Something like awe. You drove 6 hours late, he says. After your car broke down, you still came. I'm always going to come, I say. My voice is hoarse from crying. You should stop coming, he says quietly. Emma, you're wearing yourself out. You're aging. You're sacrificing everything. I don't want to stop coming, I say. Don't ask me to stop. He's quiet for a long moment. I got a letter from my daughter, he says finally. The daughter I abandoned when she was young. She's reaching out. She wants to know if we can have a relationship. That's incredible, I say. It's because of you, he says. She read about my transformation in the prison newsletter, the article about the library program I started. And she decided maybe I'm not the monster she thought I was. And that's because of you. Because you believed I could change, and I started trying to actually change. I reach across the table and squeeze his hand. I'm going to keep coming, I tell him. Every weekend, for as long as it takes, even if my car breaks down, even if I have to drive through the night, even if I have to walk here. He squeezes my hand back, and I can see tears in his eyes. That's the most beautiful and heartbreaking thing anyone has ever done for me, he says. I'm 40 years old, and I've been visiting Victor in federal prison for 10 years. I've made 520 visits. I've driven 468,000 miles. I've stayed in 520 motel rooms. Guard Martinez is retiring. On his last day, he comes to the visiting room and says, Emma, you're going to outlast me here. You're the most consistent visitor we've got. I've aged. My hair is mostly gray now. I've stopped dyeing it. My hands have age spots that I don't remember getting. I wear reading glasses now. Victor is 55 years old. He's aged too. His hair is completely white. His face has lines that weren't there a decade ago. But he's different in other ways. He's peaceful. He's started a men's group in the prison. He mentors younger inmates. He's been reading philosophy and psychology. He's becoming someone he wasn't before. I've been thinking about something, he tells me on this visit. What? I ask. I want to work with at-risk youth when I get out, he says. I want to take my experience with crime and violence, and I want to use it to help kids who are headed in the same direction I was headed. You could do that, I say. When you get out, you could start a nonprofit. I want to do it, he says, and I want you to help me. I will, I say. We sit there, and I realize that Victor has spent 10 years in federal prison becoming someone I always believed he could be. I'm 45 years old. My car is on its fourth engine. I've memorized every gas station, every rest stop, every turn to get to the prison. I'm a permanent fixture in the visiting room. Other visitors recognize me. You're back again, one woman says, and it's not a question. It's an acknowledgement that I'm consistent, that I'm devoted. Guard Martinez has been replaced by Guard Chen. She's kind. She recognizes me too. I've accepted this life. I've stopped fighting against it. I've stopped thinking about all the things I'm missing. I've accepted that this is what I'm choosing, and that choice is valid. One evening, back at the motel, I'm sitting on the bed writing a letter to Victor when I look in the mirror. I barely recognize myself. I'm 45 years old and I look 55. My hands are wrinkled. There are actual age spots on them now. My face is gaunt from 15 years of stress. My eyes are tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix. My entire body carries the weight of 15 years of long drives and prison visits and waiting. I stand up and look at my full body in the mirror. My collarbone is too prominent. I've lost weight from the stress. My breasts are smaller, sagging slightly. My stomach has aged in ways that being thin doesn't hide. My legs have spider veins. My hair, which I've stopped dyeing, is completely gray. I'm not unattractive. But I'm not the woman Victor remembers. I'm not the 30-year-old who stood in a Whole Foods produce section and met him. I'm a middle-aged woman who's dedicated the prime of her life to waiting. I sit on the bed and I cry. Not from sadness, from the reality of it, from the physical, visible proof of my sacrifice. I think about everything I've given up. I think about the relationships I didn't have. I think about the children I never gave birth to. I think about the career I never pursued. I think about the normal life I never lived. I think about looking like this, old, tired, worn out, and going back to visit Victor, who's also aged but who has the excuse of being in prison. I write him a letter that night. I'm aging, I write. I know that. You probably don't see it because you see me every week and change is gradual, but I'm aging and it's visible. I'm 45 and I look like I'm 55. I have gray hair and wrinkles and age spots, and my body is telling me that I've spent my youth driving to Kentucky every weekend instead of living. I pause and then I keep writing. But I'm not sorry. I want you to know that. I'm not sorry that I'm aging. I'm not sorry that this is the cost. Because I'm aging as someone who's loved and who loves. I'm aging as someone who made a choice and stuck with it. I'm aging as someone who matters to you. His response comes 2 weeks later. I open the envelope with shaking hands. Emma, he writes, I see you. I see every line on your face and every gray hair on your head. And you are the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. Not because of your face, because of who you are, because of what you've chosen, because of the sacrifice you've made. You're not aging, you're becoming more yourself. And I love every version of you. I read that letter over and over. I keep it in my wallet. I take it out sometimes when I'm driving to Kentucky, when I'm tired, when I'm questioning whether this is worth it. It always reminds me, it is. Victor is now eligible for parole. I don't let myself get hopeful. I've learned not to plan for futures that might not happen, but I also start thinking about what comes after. What happens when the prison visits end? What happens when we have to figure out who we are outside of this room? I mention this to Victor during one of our visits. I'm scared, I tell him. I'm scared that once you're out, you'll realize you don't want to be with me. Why would I feel that way? He asks. Because I'm not special, I say. I'm special in this context, in this visiting room with you behind bars. But in the real world, I'm just a middle-aged woman with no children and a failed previous relationship. You're the woman who chose to wait for me, Victor says. You're the woman who drove 900 miles every weekend for 17 years. You're the woman who believed in my capacity to change. That makes you extraordinary. Victor's parole hearing is scheduled for next month. The chances are good. He's been a model prisoner. He's mentored dozens of inmates. He's completed every program available. He's shown genuine transformation. I drive to Kentucky for what might be my final visit before the hearing, and I'm trying not to cry the entire time. This might be the last time I visit him in federal prison. This might be the last time I sit across from him with glass between us. When Victor comes through the door, he looks smaller, not physically smaller, emotionally smaller, like he's nervous. Don't be nervous, I tell him. You're going to get approved. I'm not nervous about parole, he says. I'm nervous about what happens after. What do you mean? I ask. I'm nervous that you'll realize I'm not the person you've been writing letters to, he says. I'm nervous that I won't know how to exist in the real world. I'm nervous that I'll disappoint you. You could never disappoint me, I say. You don't know that, he says. Yes, I do, I say. I know exactly who you are. I've known for 18 years, and I choose you. We hold hands across the table, and I'm aware that this might be one of the last times we do this. The parole hearing happens on a Tuesday afternoon. I'm not allowed in the hearing room. Instead, I sit in a waiting area with other families. There's a woman next to me whose brother is up for parole. There's an older couple whose son is being considered. We don't talk, but we share a kind of understanding. The waiting is agonizing. 3 hours pass, then 4, then 5. I don't know what's happening. I don't know if it's good or bad. Silence could mean they're deliberating carefully, or it could mean they're denying him. At 4:47 p.m., Victor's lawyer comes out. He got approved, she says. I start crying. He'll be released in 6 weeks pending final paperwork and processing. 6 weeks until this ends. 6 weeks until my weekend drive to Kentucky becomes a thing of the past. 6 weeks until I have to figure out who I am when I'm not preparing to see him. When I visit him 2 days later, he's different. He's lighter. He's hopeful for the first time in 18 years. I got approved, he says like he still can't believe it. I know, I say. I'm so proud of you. What happens now? He asks. What happens when I get out? We figure it out, I say. Together. 6 weeks feel like 6 months. I'm antsy. I clean my apartment obsessively. I prepare a room for Victor in my place. I think about what his favorite foods are. I think about what he'll want to do first when he gets out. I also think about all the ways this could go wrong. What if the real world is too much for him? What if he gets out and realizes he made a terrible mistake committing to me? What if he wants to be alone while he adjusts? I write him a letter expressing all of this. I tell him, "You're not obligated to be with me just because I waited. I need you to know that. If you need space, if you need to figure out who you are as a free man, I'll understand." His response comes 2 weeks later. "I know who I am as a free man. I'm someone who loves you. That's not going to change." Victor walks out of federal prison on a Tuesday morning in early spring. The weather is perfect, but I barely notice it. He's 63 years old. He served 18 of his 25-year sentence. He's been in prison since he was 45 years old. He doesn't know how to exist in a world where people carry smartphones that are computers. He doesn't know that you can order food from your phone. He doesn't know that people live stream their lives. I'm waiting for him in the prison parking lot. He hasn't seen me without glass between us in 18 years. This is new territory for both of us. When he comes through the gate, he moves slowly, like he's testing the ground, like he's not sure the freedom is real. He sees me and he stops. I'm 46 years old, I look it. I'm wearing a dress I bought specifically for this day, but I'm second-guessing it. Does he like the way I dress? Does he think I'm beautiful? Or am I just the woman he's been obligated to remember for 18 years? He smiles and everything I'm worried about dissolves. He walks toward me and his walk is hesitant. Prison has taught him to move carefully. In prison, wrong movements can be dangerous. "Hi," he says. "Hi," I say. We hug, and it's awkward because we don't know how to do this. His body is taller than mine, but also harder. Prison has made him muscular in a way that civilian life doesn't create. His arms around me feel like they're from another world. His smell is different without the institutional soap. We drive to the apartment I've rented for him, and he's quiet. "Are you okay?" I ask. "I don't know," he says. There are so many cars. There's so much, everything. Victor has nightmares the first night. He wakes up screaming about someone coming through the door. I'm terrified. I don't know how to help him. I've never seen him like this, vulnerable, scared, human in a way that prison never showed me. "It's okay," I say, holding him while he shakes. "You're out, you're safe." "I know," he says, but my brain doesn't know. The second night, he can't sleep at all. He paces the apartment like a caged animal. He looks out the window constantly, like he's checking that the fence hasn't reappeared. "I feel like I'm waiting for something," he tells me on the third day. "Like this is going to end and I'm going to wake up back there." "You're not going back," I say. "You're out, you're free." "But what if I fuck this up?" he asks. "What if I prove that I'm not actually changed? What if I disappoint you?" "You won't," I say, but I'm also scared. I'm scared that 18 years of absence have created a distance that physical presence can't bridge. I'm scared that we've built something that only works in a prison visiting room. He gets a job working with at-risk youth through a nonprofit organization. It's entry-level, but it's legitimate. It allows him to mentor kids who are headed in the same direction he was headed. He comes home the first day, and he's different. Lighter. For the first time since his release, he looks like the man I fell in love with. I helped a kid today, he tells me. He was thinking about dealing drugs to make money, and I talked him out of it. I told him about my life, about prison, about what I lost. And he listened. He actually listened. For a moment, I see him, the real him, the man he's become, and I'm reminded why I waited. 2 weeks after he's released, we try to have sex. It's awkward and painful for both of us. Victor's body tenses. His breathing becomes shallow. He pulls away. I can't, he says. I'm sorry, I can't. He gets out of bed and goes into the bathroom. I hear him turn on the shower. I lie there in the dark, and I'm wondering if this was a mistake. If 18 years was too long. If we've lost the ability to touch each other. When he comes back, he doesn't get in bed with me. He sits on the edge, wrapped in a towel. I'm broken, he says. You're not broken, I say. You're just adjusting. I haven't been with a woman in 18 years, Emma. 18 years. My body doesn't know how to do this anymore. My mind doesn't know how to trust this. Then we take it slow, I say. We have time. But I'm also adjusting. I'm adjusting to the fact that 18 years of absence have created a distance that physical touch doesn't immediately bridge. I'm adjusting to the reality that our relationship was built on conversation across plastic tables, and now we have to build it in actual life. I'm adjusting to the fact that I'm older now, and my body is marked by time and stress, and I'm wondering if he's disappointed. One night, 3 weeks after his release, he does touch me. It's tentative and careful. It's not passionate, it's exploratory. Like he's learning my body for the first time, like he's relearning who I am. He touches my face like he's seeing me. He holds me like he's checking that I'm real. After, he holds me and says nothing for a long time. I'm sorry, he finally says. I don't know how to do this anymore. We'll learn together, I say, and slowly we do. Slowly his body and mind catch up to each other. Slowly he learns to trust that I'm not going to disappear. Slowly we learn how to be intimate in ways that don't involve plastic tables and guards watching. 6 months after Victor's release, we're lying in bed late at night. It's 2 a.m., we can't sleep. We're just lying there, his arm around me, my head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. I need to ask you something, he says into the darkness. What? I ask. Do you regret it? He says. Do you regret the 18 years? Do you regret waiting? I'm quiet for a long time. No, I say, but I regret some of the things that came with it. What do you regret? He asks. I regret that I missed my 30s, I say. I regret that I never got to travel without planning it around prison schedules. I regret that I never had children with you. I regret that I never had a normal relationship. Do you wish you had chosen differently? He asks. His voice is very small. No, I say, but I wish the world was different. I wish you didn't have to go to prison. I wish Derek didn't exist. I wish I could have had both, the normal relationship and the version of you that you became in prison. I can't give you that, Victor says. I can't change the fact that I went to prison. I can't change the fact that you sacrificed 18 years. I know, I say, but I'm not sorry I did it. I'm sad about what we lost. But I'm not sorry. He's quiet for a long moment. I want to give you something, he says. I want to give you the rest of my life. I want to give you everything I didn't give you for 18 years. You don't have to prove anything, I say. I know, he says, but I want to. I want to spend the rest of my life being worthy of what you did for me. Victor, I say, rolling over to look at him in the darkness. You already are. 6 months after Victor's release, he starts second chances. We rent office space in a modest building. I help with the paperwork and fundraising. I use my publishing connections to help Victor tell his story in a way that resonates with donors. We write a book together about his journey from drug lord to nonprofit founder. The book doesn't hit bestseller lists, but it gets used in high schools. Teenagers read about Victor's life and understand that redemption is possible. Victor works with the nonprofit for years. He mentors hundreds of kids. He becomes known in Miami as the man who got out of prison and dedicated his life to helping others avoid making the same mistakes he made. He's happy in a way he never was before prison. The money he made as a drug lord didn't bring him this kind of peace. The power didn't bring him this kind of meaning. What brings him peace is knowing that he's making a difference, that he's saving lives. One day, he comes home with stories about 3 kids he's mentored who got accepted to college, 3 lives redirected, 3 futures changed. "This is what it's about," he says. "This is why I'm alive." Victor proposes to me 5 years after getting out of prison. We're sitting in traffic on I-95, frustrated and annoyed, listening to the radio. He turns to me and says, "We should get married." "Is that a proposal?" I ask. "Yes," he says. "I want to marry you. I want to make it official. I want the world to know that you're the person I choose and I'm the person you choose." We get married at City Hall on a Thursday afternoon. My mother cries. My father hugs us. Victor's nonprofit board members come. The judge who performs the ceremony knows Victor. She's been a supporter of second chances. Victor's hands shake as he says his vows. "I promise to spend the rest of my life being worthy of your choice," he says. "I promise to continue becoming better. I promise to acknowledge my past and work toward redemption. I promise to love you the way you deserve to be loved." We're married by a judge who seems bemused by our story, but she performs the ceremony with care and attention. She understands that this marriage is meaningful in a way that most marriages aren't. We don't do a honeymoon. We just go back to our apartment and cook dinner together. It's quiet and simple and perfect. We grow older together. Victor is in his 70s now. I'm in my 60s. We move slower. We tire faster. We're aware of our mortality in a way we weren't before. One night, getting ready for bed, Victor asks, "Are you afraid of losing me?" "Yes," I admit, "but I'm also grateful. I'm grateful for every year we've had together." "Even knowing what I've done?" he asks. "Especially knowing what you've done," I say, "because your transformation means more because of who you were before." Victor has become a respected figure in Miami. He's mentored over 1,000 at-risk youth. He's written a memoir that's taught people about the possibility of redemption. He's become living proof that people can change. One day, the mayor of Miami gives him a community service award. I sit in the audience, watching my husband, the man I met in a grocery store produce section 35 years ago, stand up and give a speech about the importance of second chances. "I'm a living example of the fact that people can change," he tells the audience. "I was a criminal who hurt people. I was imprisoned for 18 years. I'm not using that as an excuse. I'm using it as evidence that rehabilitation is possible, that redemption is possible, that people can become better." After the speech, people come up to him and thank him. They tell him he's changed their lives. They tell him he's saved their children. I'm proud of him in a way that's almost overwhelming. Years after Victor's death, I'm in my 70s, widowed after 40 years of marriage. I return to the Whole Foods alone sometimes. I stand in the produce section, and I remember that Saturday afternoon when Victor told me I dropped my dignity in the parking lot. People ask me if I regret staying with him, if I regret the years of sacrifice. My answer is always, I don't regret the choice, but I regret some of the things that came with it. I regret that Derek had to be disappeared. I regret that Victor had to go to prison. I regret that we lost 18 years to his incarceration. I regret that I never got to have children with him. But I don't regret loving him. I don't regret choosing someone despite knowing exactly who they are. I don't regret believing in someone's capacity for change. I don't regret supporting someone through that change, no matter how long it took. Because that's what love is. It's not about choosing someone who's perfect. It's about choosing someone despite knowing exactly who they are. It's about believing in their capacity for change and supporting them through that change. It's about standing in a Whole Foods produce section and choosing him. Again, always. My life has meaning. My life has purpose. My life is a testament to the fact that love can exist between 2 broken people and transform them into something whole. I pick up a bunch of curly kale, because I still like the curly kind, and I smile.